Folks, welcome back to PCG News, where we cover TCGs, paper games, paper computer games, and anything from the universe of paper computer games. We'll report on anything from the community, so if you know of a PCG-related story you think I should cover in the next episode of PCG News, I've linked a Google Doc in the description below, so please drop a link in that document, and I'll include it. There's a lot of stories to cover, so let's get to it. Epic Worlds PCG made a few new one-page PCGs, which he showed in a YouTube short. These include the flight screen, which is basically a flight screen, a typical screen in PCGs where you're in a plane fighting enemies in the sky, and another short starring Zuvak. The flight screen is available on the PCG shop, which is linked in the description below. Detune Paper has released some mysterious art in the PCG leaks section of the PCG Discord. Now, we don't know what this is or what game it's for, but cryptically, Detuned Paper has said it's not for Detuned World, his signature paper game series. So stay tuned for updates from that. Clash Heroes TCG released a new short showing cards from the Shrooms archetype in his TCG, Clash Heroes TCG, and got 1.2 thousand views as of time of recording, which is really cool. Immortal Studios has announced a PCG novel. The novel is called Gnome Heart of the Slender. It's part of the Gnome Saga, a saga of PCGs everyone has been contributing to about a gnome fighting trolls and having a series of adventures. I have a video coming out about that saga, which is in the works. It's coming, don't worry. Meanwhile, Heart of the Slender is a reference to the Slender Man, a creepypasta character who looks like this. He's a horrifying character who kills or even mentally influences people to kill for him. According to Immortal, in this book, Gnome gets kidnapped by Slender Man, and Slender Man sends him to another dimension where he has to escape. That sounds like an epic and creepy adventure. Wrath of Kors TCG released a video showcasing a way to make a deck in his TCG, Wrath of Kors 2, but blind. Meaning, you don't know which cards you're putting into the deck, but yet, it'll still come out as a structurally sound deck, which is a pretty cool strategy, I think. Well, folks, looks like I'm no longer the only PCG news show in town. We've had two members of the community create their own takes on a PCG news video. The first was Epic Worlds PCG, inspired by my last PCG news video, made his own, which he calls PCG Community News, which is a good title, as it adds in that community aspect. Like my PCG news, he covers new PCGs by anyone in the community, but he gives special attention to new PCGs by his friends, most of whom don't have their own YouTubes and often don't upload their PCGs to the PCG shop, which makes it harder for me to cover them. So it's great that Epic is covering this corner of the PCG community, which too often goes overlooked. I'll absolutely continue to cover them in this show as well, of course, but it's great to have someone who knows their PCGs the best on the case. Next is Siren the Elf, who released his own update video with what he calls a mini PCG news inside of it. In the video, he gives a shocking revelation about himself, which I won't spoil, but you will never see Siren the Elf the same way again. Go watch the video. And he gives updates on some of his own projects. He's also working on an upcoming PCG called The Shadow of Chernobyl, which he reveals in the video will be an open world game. Additionally, he's remaking the art on his first ever PCG, which is really cool. He also announced a possible Let's Play series playing my massive paper computer game, Balzac Lobotron, which would be absolutely epic to see. Unfortunately, when we were playing through Balzac Lobotron, me and Chris, I hadn't started the YouTube channel yet. It was I would start it right after that, which is really unfortunate because that was a really epic playthrough. It lasted months. We brought Ari into it as well. It was totally wild, and it sucks that you guys couldn't be a part of that. So it's really awesome to see somebody else planning to play that game. I would love to see it played. It's really big, and I think you know, as much as you guys have already seen from that game, I think there's still a lot of surprises left to be discovered. So definitely look forward to that. Now, Siren's video also covers PCGs and PCG videos from others in the community, as well as TCGs from around the TCG community. So it's a fantastic video overall. It's really well edited with some chill background music, so definitely be sure to check it out. It's no secret that I haven't been the most consistent in uploading PCG news videos, which sucks because I think people want to see it more than pretty much anything else I make. So I think it's great that more people are getting involved and making their own versions of PCG news, and I absolutely support them 100%. That said, it doesn't change my plan, which is to try to release my own PCG news more regularly as well. I've been trying not to promise that because, as you may know, I'm not the best at sticking to my own promises to make content, so I won't promise it now either, but we'll see what happens. Either way, though, it is a good time to be a PCG news fan. Okay, so this one isn't really new, so I don't know if you can really call it news, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I just discovered it, so I want to talk about it. YouTuber Doodle Date has a series of videos with hundreds of thousands of views each, holy cow, going back 5 years, where she shows some of her childhood paper... You know, I'm not even sure if it's paper games or paper art, but I think she mentions her friends playing it, so I'll count it. And she doesn't really discuss rules of the games, but it seems more like a PCG than a traditional paper game. So that's interesting. But anyway, she's created a whole world that you could explore, which she called the Rimsies. She has movie theaters, pizza parlors, etc., like a whole little town to wander around. She has a 3-part series because the world she created is just so in-depth and has so much to it. Most recently, about 6 months ago, she made a video where she shows a homemade trading card game based on the Rimsies that she made as a kid. Epic Worlds PCG also made a new Among Us PCG, which is called Among Us Red Alert. Now this is really cool because it takes a new Among Us character, Red, who comes from Truminator's PCGs, and brings him into the shared universe of Among Us paper games and paper computer games. And Truminator is, of course, one of Epic Worlds' friends who, you know, doesn't have a YouTube and, you know, like I said, doesn't get covered as much, unfortunately. But he brings Red from Truminator's game and brings him into the shared universe of Among Us paper games and paper computer games. I made a video covering the history of all the Among Us games so far and how they tie together. There's shared characters between games by Cami Fanny, Anstarry, and me, most notably iDot, a character that Anstarry created, and that I fleshed out in my Among Us game, revealing that he's neither human nor imposter. He's something else. Anyway, in this new PCG, Epic Worlds brings iDot into it as well, thus connecting to the established Among Us universe and fleshing it out with his own addition of Truminator's characters and some of Epic's own, which is really epic, for lack of a better word. If you know of a TCG, paper game, PCG, or PCG-related story you think I should cover in the next episode of PCG News, please drop a link in the Google Doc I've linked in the description below, so I'll know to include it. Alright folks, that's all the PCG goodness I've got for you today. Thanks so much for watching, and PCG later!